So marketing automation. Who wants to hear about marketing automation? Yes? All right, great. Okay,
It
so
wouldn't have been possible if I didn't install.
it wouldn't have been possible if Marco did not install a lab for us. So you are going to see, I am going to give a demo of marketing automation in Sitecore 9. So it'll also be like the first you've seen. I don't know, maybe it's not the first you've seen. Who has been in there actually have seen it, not gone through the process of installing and all that kind of stuff. I haven't seen it yet. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about last time in last month's meeting, because just to kind of get you caught up, if you don't remember, is that in Sitecore 9 they released marketing automation. Now this replaces the engagement automation application that was in there before in 8.2 and down. Okay, so it's a new standalone app. They've updated the UI, so that and Sitecore Forms, which is also one of the new applications. So Web Forms for Marketers it's still there. You can still use the Web Forms for Marketers module, but they've replaced that in their roadmap with Sitecore Forms. If you're familiar with marketing automation suites or just marketing platforms, it's very typical to have some components of landing page, forms, and a marketing automation app and email kind of packaged together. Sitecore is unique in that way, is that is all integrated into the one platform, which is Experience Platform. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about forms today, other than how you can use that to kind of start some of the automation tasks, or move them throughout the paths, but that is also something that's new in Sitecore 9. So the new automation engine is built on XConnect. Just a lot of the other things now have that layer there, that service layer there, and XConnect is the foundation for it. The new rules are in there today. So there's a new rules engine. Are you familiar with rules engines? Rules engine, and there's a new rules set that contains a lot of the out-of-box conditions now for the marketing automation tool. And so things like delays, time delays, and states and things like that. We'll get into that in a second, but there's additional rules set in there. And they removed the Silverlight dependency. You used to have to, it was a mess. Anyway, so now that's gone. One thing to note about compatibility. So it is only in version 9. EXM is a major component. So Email Experience Manager is a major component to marketing automation, right? So typically you put someone in an automation, one of the biggest use cases is to have a automated drip campaign, right? And right now, version 3.5 is the latest that is out, and that is not supportive inside of marketing automation. So because 3.5 is out, it's not compatible with marketing automation until they release 3.6. Okay, that's a bummer until they come out with version. It's supposed to be 9.0.1. It's supposed to be in December, but it could be in the January timeframe as well. But when 3.6 comes out, it should supposedly will have direct compatibility with the marketing automation tool. Okay. This little screenshot of what it is. I don't want to steal my thunder. All right, so is marketing automation right for you? I first just kind of want to step back for a second, because there may be people in the room that these things today, what we already have in Sitecore, single email blast, if you use an email tool, whether that's EXM or some other tool, single blasts, automated blasts, like drip campaigns and things like that. Rules-based personalization and predictive personalization, so Sitecore already has that. Page and component level and A/B multivariate testing, Sitecore already has that in the Experience Platform. And then campaign tracking. So, and with forms and things like that, you may not need to use the marketing automation tool, so that's going to be a business decision. I would say one of the largest questions, or the kind of the most important questions, is do you have, or does your clients have, a steady stream of new digital leads coming in on a regular basis? If that question is, or answer is yes, I would say yes, marketing automation is absolutely crucial to your marketing program, okay? If not, again, continue to use all of these, because if you're trying to get people in or just move people throughout, those are all great tactics to use for your marketing program, okay? If it is right for you and you do have a stream of new digital leads, then I would say step back for a second. And one of the talks that I gave in one of the previous meetups was about the Personalization Planner. Remember that? Remember that talk? Okay. So what I went through was a step to try to get into more predictive personalization. There's a series of tasks that we go through here and with clients to really think through that process. And is it right? What are the objectives for your organization? And then applying a set of tactics for those objectives, okay? So the Personalization Planner, I would say up to step 4, because there's, I believe, 6 or 7 steps of that. Up to step 4 is absolutely critical to going into a marketing automation tool like in Sitecore 9. Because these things are going to be CXM maturity, define what your maturity is, define what your side objectives are, things like that. And then going through a digital goals assessment. What Ben talked about earlier was the page events. Well, goals are essentially page events. Like he said, little secret, those are page events behind the scenes. Those are all getting tracked in the experience database. Goals are special in a sense that it's just nomenclature. They say goal because it's something that you recognize as a marketer. You want someone to do X, Y, Z, right? So they say that's a goal, and they just make it called that. It's still a page event behind the scenes. So list all of your page events, what you want people to do on your site also. But especially so, go through the goals and prioritize those. So mark all the things down. I know this is on a redesign project or a redevelopment project, refactoring, something like that. That's done usually up front. What we also teach people to do is to have a content strategy process where you're constantly reviewing these things, right? You're looking to the product marketing teams. What do you want them to do? All these things, you're constantly kind of going back and forth with people to understand what those digital goals need to be. So this may be something that you continue to go back to and prioritize, but especially in a redesign, refactoring project, it's one of the first things that we go through, okay? So get those laid out, because if you have a goal of, one of the use cases for marketing automation is downloading a webinar, right? So you download a webinar and then they get put into a series. Maybe it's 3 series emails or 4, and then at the 4th someone gets called or whatever it is, right? Well, those need to be tracked in here as a high value goal, because one, there is a engagement value. You familiar with engagement values inside of Sitecore? So there's engagement values inside of Sitecore that's being racked up on these contacts, right? I won't get into that, but engagement value is very, very valuable for not only reporting purposes, but it uses that number for actionable tasks. So it can use that number for personalization, for A/B tests, all this kind of stuff, right? So that's very important. But this gives you an idea of the things that you're going to prioritize when you get into your marketing automation program, okay? So that download may be very, very important for your organization, because that's the quickest way to get someone on the phone with a person and get a converted, sale or something like that, right? So very, very important. Third, it's kind of hard to market to the right person if you don't know who those people are. So have a good sense of who those people are. You probably have gone already through some type of persona exercise, or at least you have a general sense of who your audiences are and the segments that you're trying to target, right? If this whole targeting segments and targeting users is beyond developers, marketers are manipulative. Just so you know, we try to get people to buy our stuff, right? That's just the way it is. That's okay. So I'm going to teach you how to be more manipulative if you want to do that, all right? So the third step here, prioritizing the segments, go through your audience list and understand who the segments are that you're trying to target through your marketing automation program. You may want to only focus on some customers have, customers of ours, I can just think of, may only have 2 or 3 good, set of users. Maybe, they're different types of buyers for a B2C company. Maybe they're different industries for a B2B company. Don't know. But the thing is, you need to go through and prioritize those because first have the list, but then which one obviously is more valuable to your business and which one's the least valuable to your business. So that gives us someone to target. The fourth step is describe the journey. Okay, so hopefully you have some data on this today. Google Analytics is probably the easiest and fastest way over an extended period of time, if you look at a snapshot anyway, where you can see what pages people are going to, what's the most viewed pages, and all this kind of stuff. At least that data can be captured relatively easy. It just requires time. So get that information when you're going to determine what your journey is before you go into a journey exercise. Because why it's important is you want to know what those steps are in that journey. Otherwise, how are you going to get someone from a brand new digital lead prospect into a closed sale, right? So we're trying to make money, right? So how do you get people from the prospect into a closed sale? And hopefully after the closed sale, you can even use marketing automation to gain lifetime customers after that, right? So I would say this is critical to figuring out what your priorities are, what your objectives are, and going into a marketing automation tool. With that said, if you don't know already, I don't have to go over this too much, but basically marketing automation just automates marketing tasks, right? So instead of an individual going through and sending emails or waiting 3 days to do something, or tagging someone that was a customer maybe on the site. That's all very manual tasks, right? There's an automation tool back there doing all that for you, okay? Hopefully that's not too crazy. All right. But in any marketing automation plan, you have a desired outcome. So you've written that down. You want to go, increase, what do I have down here? Increase upsell conversion rates by 12%. In a particular time period by this person or whatever. That could be an outcome. You have marketing taxonomy. So first, let me back up. Desired outcomes will come out of that previous exercise that I was just talking about. Okay, so that's critical to any marketing automation. I would say program just in general, right? In a marketing program. Marketing taxonomy. You're going to need to go into the marketing control panel, and there's goals, there's outcomes, there's the profiles, the profile keys, their personas. They're all in there. That needs to be looked at and then updated based on what you've learned from that personalization tracker or planner rather exercise. Because what you're going to find when you get into marketing automation, the tool, it's going to ask you for some of those things. And when you go into like looking for certain states or looking for certain conditions in the rules editor, it's going to ask you, well, what goal do you want that triggered off of? Well, if you don't have a goal loaded up in a marketing control panel, there's nothing to trigger off of, right? So that kind of stuff needs to be thought through pretty heavily. There's in a marketing automation tool, there's what's called distribution methods, or some people just say distribution or channels or whatever. So those are landing pages, usually. You'll need a landing page to get someone in on, right? I won't talk about campaigns, but there's something inside of Sitecore. This is not just 9, but this is other Sitecore. I think from 7.2 or 7, I think 7.5 and up to 8.2, campaign creator. Okay, so in Campaign Creator, you can create a campaign. It gives you a little SC number, and you're going to pin that to anything that goes on that landing page. Okay, so get a landing page together. Ideally, a page designed for whatever that conversion is. Okay, that's first. Second, content, whether that's a whole page design or an ad that you're running, whether that's maybe you have a downloadable resource, maybe it's like a product brochure, it could be a webinar, download to a webinar, whatever, and then an offer. So looking at you guys, there's offers going on all the time, BOGOs and all that kind of stuff, right? So that kind of stuff needs to be done, and typically it's done by either, there's all sorts of ways to do it, but product marketing teams or content strategists or somebody's creating that content for that offer, right? And then they need to put that onto the landing page and assure that's properly connected up. The other things here within the Sitecore, Sitecore 9, like other Sitecores, is contacts and lists. So you have the individual contact, that's crucial, right, to a marketing automation, because what we're really trying to understand from a long game is who this person is, what their behavior is, and then start to take predictive action on that over time so that we can make that person the most valuable that they can be. And conversely, if they are not, then get them out of the system as fast as we can also. See how we think? It's terrible. Talking like, anyway, manipulative, like I said. And then forms. So there has to be a way, within Sitecore 9, it's Sitecore Forms now. In previous versions of Sitecore, it was Web Forms for Marketers. And you have to have a form to capture, generally, to get a downloadable resource or something, or get them into that state. There's other ways to get them into that state. Like I said before, you can trigger a goal. That's one way, like a page view or something like that. I'll get into a second. And then email. So you have to have a way to communicate to people, put them into an automation plan or a drip campaign. You have to have a way. I won't get into these yet, but automation building blocks, these are all the items that we have to work with inside of the inside of our automation experience database, and then the new Cortex machine learning, which we don't have a whole lot of information about yet. But let me back out and I'm going to show you. I'm going to get into Sitecore. Okay, here's Sitecore 9. Just kidding. It is, but why is that not coming up? It's doing this thing, Marco. There we go. You want to watch Trolls? Okay. Can you see that? I'm going to make this a little bigger. Right, cool. So Sitecore 9 looks a lot like Sitecore 8.2. Not much different, is it? All right. So down here at the top, bottom left-hand corner, there's a couple things here. Forms is right there. That's that new standalone app, and then marketing automation. I'm just going to click into that guy. When you get in here, you're going to have a list of all the automation plans that you've created. I've already created one for the demonstration purposes today, but it's easy to create one. Just create it, name it, and it pops up what we're going to see here in just a second. All of the ones that you create are going to be in active or inactive, so you set dates. Whenever you create them, you set, like, I want this to start at this time and then end at this time, okay? And then whenever that rolls over into, after the end time, it'll obviously go into inactive campaigns, and then all the active ones running will be in the active part there. I'm going to click on New Sales Inquiry because it's a basic one, but it's something that probably most organizations, if you make money, have to deal with at some level. And so what I've done is already created one without email, because EXM 3.5 is not supported in this version. So that's why it's not installed, it's not working with it. So there are tons of use cases that we can use without it. it's just not going to be as effective as it obviously could be. So in what we've done here, I'm just going to give a quick real estate tour to what's going on, because the UI and the refresh of the UI is huge, because this is done also in Sitecore Forms. On the right-hand side, you have the toolbox. This is a drag and drop interface. So I can take any of these and then drop it, and you'll see this little plus that shows up in a spot. And these little dots right here, like right there, tell me where I can drop that action. Okay? When I do that, I'm just going to drop that right there. I'm going to click on it, and then it's going to give me a way to configure that particular action that I just dropped in. So this one in particular is setting a profile key. So again, back to my previous statement, go through your marketing control panel and update your profiles, your personas, and your profile keys, because this will automatically populate into here when you've done that. This is the out-of-the-box set of profile keys. So they have things like in function. Function is kind of their way of saying what journey are they in. Are they in kind of a building trust type of mentality versus are we trying to create desire in the awareness phase of our journey. So that would be something that we can configure there. I'm just going to drop that out. So if you hover over any one of these, there's a red X. You just click the red X and it drops out of that area. Okay? So what I've done here is there's always a start and an end. So I've clicked on start, and it's going to ask me over here to the right hand side, how do you want to get, when someone does an action, how do you get them started into that automation plan? So for this one, I've chosen and I've set up a goal called sales inquiry submitted. That would be based on a contact form. So on a contact form, you can set the submit action to automatically apply a goal to it. And that's going to be sales inquiry submitted. I've also submitted a outcome. So outcomes are just general ways of categorizing business goals, like things that you want as an organization for this digital lead to achieve. So sales lead is just a very general one, but I want to tag that as sales lead as an outcome of that interaction. So I'm looking for both of those things, or actually in this case, it's an or. So one of those things before someone gets submitted into this automation. Okay? And I just hit apply. You can use specified rules, so that will open up the the new Ruleset Editor, which has a whole bunch of other, if I just hit that, open up Ruleset Editor after it gives me an error. There we go. And it looks very similar, but there's going to be a ton more in here. There's a lot of conditions that you can use to define what you want the conditions to be for someone to be triggered in that. So I do have an 8.2 Ruleset Editor PDF that has all of them printed out, so you don't have to find the place inside of Sitecore that has the rule set engine. So I'm planning to, when I have any free time, planning to update that to the version 9 so that it'll be a nice downloadable thing. And I promise I won't put you in an automation plan. I'll just give it to you. All right, so that's what happened with this start. And then the second piece there is I threw an error over here somehow, and I'm not sure how, but I click on this guy. Okay. So the next thing is, once I know that they've triggered a goal, I'm going to go in and increase that contact's engagement value, because I know they've already met this other goal. That's probably generating some engagement value there. But then because they're special to me in this automation plan, I'm going to increase their engagement value again. So I can just increase this to whatever the value. If that's an arbitrary number, fine. Or if you have a specific 1 to 10 system or whatever, increase the engagement value there, and that will do that to that contact regardless of what they do afterwards. Then the next thing is I'm going to add them to a contact list. So previously when I said make sure you go through and set up your contacts are important and your lists are important. Set up a list for these people in this automation plan. And I've already done that just on the sake of time. I know I'm at 1 minute here, so I've subscribed them to sales inquiries. So what I would want to do is get these into a different list altogether. So I'm segmenting at this point, right? So then the next thing is, I just to show you that there are states and there's conditional paths. So the listener here, I don't know why I chose 3 minutes, but it's listening for 3 minutes and then it provided me a conditional path. So this could be, you have something waiting for 3 days before it starts the automation. You've already applied the engagement value increase. You've already put them into a list. Maybe for some business reason you want to wait 3 days before you contact them or something. Don't know. It may be a little predatory if you just get right on the phone, and do that. So let them kind of fester a little bit. It's probably not the best term, fester. Anyway, for the sake of argument here, I'm just going to continue on. All right, so when they go down to this conditional logic, if that, obviously they'll meet the condition of waiting 3 minutes. If they go down the yes path, I'm going to change that behavior to a lead, actually. I'm going to change that contact and tag them with another attribute and say, that's a good lead, right? So if an application of this is maybe I can also put another action there to go in and see, the Ruleset Editor that I just pulled up, maybe it's out there watching their behavior, and maybe if they hit these 3 pages, then I'm going to tag them as a lead. If I'm tagging them as a lead, the next action that I would do if I had EXM installed in here I would send a salesperson a notification right away and say, this person, go look at your contact, go look at their profile. These are the 3 pages that they're hitting, and because we had a number associated to our form when they filled that out, you can give them a call. Okay, so it's terrible. That's where my mind's at. But that's a typical automation. And then after that, if you just send that email over to a salesperson, you could just end it right away, and that would end the automation. Or if they're going down to a no path, they did the initial stuff, but they didn't do anything else. Maybe it was an offer, and it didn't resonate with them. And they waited for however many days. They didn't have any other interaction with your site. Maybe you just decrease engagement value. There's still someone that interacts with your site somehow, some way, but they're probably not the person that I'm going to pick up the phone and call right away, right? Because they're not showing very much interest, okay? Either case, what I've done here, generally speaking, a conditional logic would both end to the end spot. This here I've chosen on the right-hand side, down at the bottom, is move to another campaign. So I've loaded this up into that spot, and I've moved them to another campaign. That could be a less assertive. Let's use the word assertive way of nurturing this person through the buying journey, right? So that other campaign, maybe maybe another marketer manages that campaign. I don't know. But moving them into that may be a better approach, okay? So as you can see, the right-hand side there, those are my listeners, my decisions, and other elements like time delays and things like that. So again, all these are drag and drop, put them in place, save it, and then your automation is active. And all of that data that you're putting in here, like engagement values are being decreased. There are behavior changes and tagging them as a lead. That all shows an experience profile. It all shows an experience analytics. So if someone else is looking at that data, they can see they've gone into this campaign or automation plan. They're triggering these other things. They're tagged as a lead. So you don't have to wait for the salesperson to get the email. Someone's looking at that, could be looking at that data and then making that connecting the dots and already giving them a call or something else. So, all right? that's marketing automation. So I'm all done, and it's my time, past my time. So thank you.
And that can affect personalization. Just so you guys know. So just
Yes.
set that up.
Yep. Pre-built automation scenarios will be provided. I believe that's after they come out with 3.6 in the EXM module, because otherwise, a lot of these you can't facilitate. So I'm going to give you the slide anyway. We'll probably put that on the LinkedIn group or something. We'll figure it out. But these are something that I know as a marketer, oftentimes you're just, what do I start with from a marketing automation plan? There's a lot of great examples of what a plan looks like online, but these are general scenarios like a welcome email or a welcome series, like if you're going into like a rewards program or something like that. You know, stuff like that. These are just examples of what some things could be in a marketing automation plan. I'll make it available. So, all right. Happy New Year.